All right, let's do it. Live from Buffalo, New York. Not exactly sunny and scenic, but we're here anyway. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Lucas Panzica is somewhere up in the clouds. He's on his way here, as a matter of fact. Brett Batchelor's making it happen back in the studio.
Good morning.
Hello, bud. How are we?
I'm doing swell. Yourself?
I'm well. Let's not act like we haven't just talked to each other for about an hour leading up to this. That's one of my least favorite things about radio. It's like, hey, how are you? Oh, I'm fine, thanks. We've basically just spent
We've been texting all morning long.
Yeah, you're gonna get sick of me, Brett. I promise you. Are you prepared for this today? You're gonna have to babysit me for the full 3 hours.
I'm locked
Lucas
and loaded.
Is not there.
I'm ready to go.
Okay, we'll see how it goes. We are locked and loaded, ready to rock. 615-737-1045. That's the number. 615-737-1045 is how you call. What's it going to take for the Titans to beat the Bills tonight? That is the million-dollar question at this point. What will it take as a 10-point underdog on the road against the team that everybody is picking to be the most overwhelming force in the AFC? What's it going to take for the Titans to go in there and kneecap them? The conditions look like they're going to be miserable throughout the course of the day. It has been pouring here all morning long. I think that's supposed to kind of dissipate a little bit before kickoff at, 7:20 Central Time, 8:20 Eastern?
Other way around, I believe.
What do you mean other way around?
I believe it's 6:20 Central Time and 7:20 Eastern Time.
Oh, that's right, because it's a doubleheader. We
Correct.
have the doubleheader tonight.
Correct.
Okay. Titans and Bills on ESPN and the Eagles and Vikings on ABC. Thank you for the reminder. Of course, Titans radio coverage will begin about an hour before. Well, actually, that's not true. Titans radio coverage is going to continue all day long because we got nothing else to talk about other than it is also in the middle of a Monday Night Football week. Florida Hate Week for Volunteers fans, and a spectacle that is going to be. But we will have time for that later on. So, what do they got? What are they going to show us tonight that is going to be of consequence? What is the best thing working in their favor? Well, I think if you look at the NFL chaos yesterday, it is honestly the best thing going in their favor is just luck. Just the way that these things go. I get about 3 Sundays every year to watch the Red Zone when the Titans are playing on Thursday or Monday or they've got a bye. Like, that's my opportunity to sit back and watch football like everybody else, which is great. It's always, it's like some great revelation for me 3 times a football season where I can sit down and be like, damn, you know what's really, really good? The Red Zone. This is a tremendous invention that we have. So I was addicted to it yesterday while I was up here in Buffalo sampling the finest wings that the city has to offer. And what blew me away in being able to consume week 2 was these games early on were atrocities. Many of them. Certainly the noon slate was kind of lacking at the start of it, especially if you're an Indianapolis Colts fan. Good God, we'll have time to get to them a little later on. Yes, that is exactly right. That sound embodies the literally 0 points that they scored in Jacksonville yesterday. There will be time. That is correct.
Had to give him 2.
Okay. Well, they haven't lost twice. Remember, they tied. They're 0-1-1 to start the season.
But I feel like your play yesterday was bad enough that you deserve 2 of those.
Well, listen, you are the arbiter of the sounds. I have no control over this. So just as Lucas is always able to turn off my microphone if he doesn't like what I'm saying, I have zero ability to dictate what Brett Batchelor.
I won't turn off your mic.
Okay, thank you. It would be important because otherwise you're running the show, Mark. Yeah, I'm all you got today.
I cannot go back to the shadows today. There's no chance it can happen.
Well, don't tempt me. But I think when you look at the NFL action yesterday, a lot of it kind of projected as stinkers. But, I mean, just 3 bat bleep crazy comebacks with Miami trailing Baltimore by 21 points at halftime. They come back to win 42-38. Tua had 6 touchdowns in ways that are carrying basically NFL coverage today outside of everything else that happened. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle obviously going off. Miami is one of 3 Only 3. We are 2 weeks into the NFL season with 2 games left to go tonight. 3 teams in the AFC remain undefeated. That is Buffalo, who only has 1 game down so far, and will have 2 as of tonight. Miami, who's 2-0 and looks like they have the best opportunity to be this year's version of the Bengals. And then the Chiefs, who, of course, are going to continue to be overwhelming because they have arguably the best quarterback in the sport, and the offense looks very, very much unbothered by the fact that they don't have Tyreek Hill, although Tyreek Hill was a massive difference maker for Miami yesterday. So you got the Miami game. You've got the Jets, who you look at this situation. They come back to beat the Browns 31-30. The Browns had a 99.9% win probability when they went up 30-17 with under 2 minutes to play. 1:55 is when they put up their final score. Joe Flacco, somehow, because he's a professional athlete, and at any point in time, a professional athlete can get hot, Joe Flacco's out there throwing for 307 yards, 4 touchdowns. They're 1-1, both of these teams now, but still, 31-30, the Jets come back. And then there's the Cardinals in the later afternoon slate in Vegas, where they are trailing 20-0 at halftime. They're dead in the water. Like, I can't imagine what that locker room vibe must look like, because they already went and got curb stomped by the Chiefs in week 1. So now you go into Vegas, you're trailing 20-0. Kyler Murray, it basically the second half just turns into bleep it, let Kyler make a play, which turns out is the thing that he's best at. And he goes out there, he makes a comeback possible, and then they play for overtime. Byron Murphy walks it off with a 59-yard fumble recovery touchdown that came perilously close, very dangerously close to being nullified, because he kind of threw the ball out of the as he crossed the goal line, which, of course, Deshaun Jackson made famous for just hang on to the ball as you cross the goal line to score. Just hold on to the ball. So I say all those things I recap yesterday's NFL slate to say that the NFL this year has parity unlike any season that I can remember. We're past the point of, all right, 20 years of New England Patriots dominance in the AFC. They're almost always going to be the Super Bowl representative for the conference. And if it's not Brady or Manning, while those two were neck and neck, then you have a handful of Roethlisbergers in there and the odd Flacco, right? The parity this year, there were several teams that went in as double-digit favorites yesterday. And all of these results, as I look at the Week 2 slate, were far closer. I don't think there was a single. Well, the Bucs beat the Saints because we had Chaos Jameis back in the mix,
and another Mike Evans fight with Marshawn Lattimore as well.
That's just unbelievable.
It happens every time.
20-0, so or rather 20-10, the Bucs over the Saints. That and then the Seahawks and the Niners. Jimmy G coming in to save the 49ers from an 0-2 start. Trey Lance done for the season. Suffering some kind of ankle injury that's going to cost him the remainder of his year. 27-7, the Niners. But really those, and then the Packers. So there's three results yesterday. The Packers over the Bears, Niners over the Seahawks, and the Bucs over the Saints. And then of course the Colts, 24-0. They lose at Jacksonville. But there were, I think 8 or 9 double-digit point spreads in the Week 2 slate. You do have 4 of these come down to double-digit victories for these teams, and ironically enough, the Bucs and Saints spread was not double-digit. Certainly the Colts and the Jags were not, but that was one of the biggest mistakes on the board that Vegas made yesterday, and like I said, we will have plenty of time for the Colts in just a few minutes from now. The parity in the NFL makes it such that you cannot look at the Titans against the Bills as a hopeless cause. You simply can't. Even as all the metrics would say, yeah, Buffalo's overwhelming this year. Even as you would look at the Titans and be like, you lost to the Giants, who, by the way, are 2-0, because Matt Rule apparently stinks at his job, as we have found out over the course of time. All these things put the Titans in position to be more than just competitive, which is kind of the way that I view them, more than just a consistently competitive football team. No, they're going to come in here to Buffalo, and they're going to have the opportunity to win a game over the Super Bowl favorites right now, over the Buffalo Bills, over Josh Allen, who they do have a considerable amount of success against. We're going to go through all the tendencies. You're going to hear from Greg Cosell, Mike Vrabel, Kyle Phillips, whose status for tonight is still in question. Some concerning stuff on the injury report for the Titans as to who will not play in this game. But coming up next, let's just all point and laugh at the Indianapolis Colts. And not just point and laugh at the Indianapolis Colts, but one of your second favorite things to do as Titans fans, point and laugh at me because I was loud wrong about the Indianapolis Colts. We're going to do all of those things coming up next, live from Buffalo. It's 104.5 The Zone. Owning a business is a wonderful thing, but with that comes a lot of responsibility. Hey, this is Buck Reising. One responsibility that simply cannot be overlooked is your business's accounting and taxes. You can check that job off your list by using who I trust, Forsyth and Hilario CPAs. Their goal is to allow you to focus on what you're passionate about, your business's development. So you can go off and enjoy the Titans game as a small business owner. You can make a trip to Buffalo on a Monday night and know that your business's accounting and taxes are going to be in good hands by also a couple of Titans fans at Forsyth and Hilario CPAs. They provide advisory, tax, and accounting expertise so you can do what you do best. That's grow your business. Visit CPAForsyth.com today. That's CPAFORSYTH.com.
Near the 40-yard line. Ryan to throw. Pressure's coming. Throws to the far sideline. It's intercepted. He kind of threw it up for grabs. And it was intercepted by Rayshawn Jenkins. The Jaguars will have the football.
The Buck Reising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Dear God, that was one of Matt Ryan's 3 interceptions in a 24-0 loss against the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday. Welcome back to 104.5 The Zone, live from Buffalo. Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock. The audio courtesy of Brett.
CBS.
Okay, excellent. CBS on the call there. We have to talk about this. We have to talk about just how bad this was from a variety of different angles, because nothing makes a Titans fan happier than watching the Colts lose. Nothing makes a Titans fan happier than watching the Colts lose than losing to the Jaguars, because it still is one of the most inexplicable streaks in all of sports. And then on top of that, you have the situation where nothing makes a Titans fan happier than a Colts loss, a shutout loss, a loss to the Jags, and also me being wrong because I felt better about the Colts in the AFC South than I did the Titans. We will get to that quickly for you, because just because Lucas isn't on the show today does not mean that he is not sabotaging it from afar. He did his preparation last night. We have audio from earlier this month of me picking the Colts over the Titans in the AFC South, so can't wait for that. But as I look at the different things that went wrong for Indy yesterday, I mean, just there are so many things that are problematic about this team. And we've put it on a poll at Buck Reising for you to vote on this. Who is most at fault for the Colts' 0-1-1 start? That tie is going to matter, and technically they're not, they're not eliminated from the postseason, or should not be eliminated from postseason considerations the way that 0-2 teams so often are. It's been quite some time since an 0-2 team, or a team started 0-2 and then made the postseason after the fact. But I watched the Colts yesterday, and outside of Matt Ryan just looking like he hit the cliff at 37 more than I think anybody expected him to, their protection is horrendous. Their skill position players, Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman, were not available to them yesterday. That defense looks lost without Shaq, a.k.a. Darius Leonard, who has also missed their first 2 games of the season. And so I'm looking around and saying, what the hell is wrong with them? They have been given ample opportunities to try and correct this thing. And no matter how you want to dance on their graves today, as many of you are, and rightfully so, they look horrendous, absolutely horrendous. I still, at my core, believe that Frank Reich is a good enough coach to make up for this. Anybody who can get 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions out of Carson Wentz and nearly make the playoffs, if not for an just ungodly wincing, also in Jacksonville. All these different things coming about, and I come back to the idea, okay, who is most responsible for this situation? Who is most responsible for the failure consistently that Indianapolis has experienced? And I have to come back for the person most responsible for constructing that roster, whose best move as general manager of the Indianapolis Colts has been to take a guard in the top 10. And Quentin Nelson is a special player. There's no disputing this, but at a non-premium position, you're paying that dude north of $20 million a year. He just got a contract extension, I believe, right before the season started.
Correct.
And still, it's not enough to keep Matt Ryan, 37-year-old Matt Ryan, upright the way that they obviously need to. And it forces him into worse decisions than he would otherwise make. Now, the Titans are playing one Josh Allen today here in Buffalo, where we're doing the show live from. The Colts went up against another Josh Allen yesterday. And this Josh Allen, who I think is going to be a problem in the AFC South for every team, not just old man Ryan, Josh Allen spoke yesterday about the shutout over the Colts.
That's a standard. That's our standard. Things happening, and that's what You know what I'm saying? They score, they don't. But, like, that's our standard. That's the attitude, that's the mentality that we need to come out and play every week. That's what we have. And we got to continue to play like that. We can't just do it in small spurts. We got to be dominant. And I think we showed a dominant performance. And we showed what we can do.
That's our standard. Says a Jaguars player? No. The Jaguars standard is not excellence. The Jaguars standard is not shutting teams out. It's certainly not making everybody's Super Bowl favorites, or not Super Bowl favorites, forgive me, everybody's favorites in the AFC South, and a team that many people in media this offseason, many of the prognosticators, including myself, I made the case that the Colts could be a Super Bowl team. This is why I don't like predictions. This is why I don't like to make predictions. This is why I think they're the biggest waste of time of anything that we do in this medium. And this medium, I mean, just generally what we do for a living is stupid that they pay us money to do this. But of all the things that are silly and ridiculous about the playground environment that we get to operate in, preseason predictions are trash. I don't care who you're picking to win the Super Bowl. It's not going to matter. I don't care who you think is going to be the best in the division. Something's going to happen to lead that askew. Even the best among us, the forecasters at Football Outsiders, for all of their data-driven analytics that give you the most probable result, they've done a terrible job picking the Super Bowl teams the last couple of years because there's just so many unforeseen things. So when I got back, and I'm gonna try and slough off as much blame from myself as humanly possible, but I felt I was being backed into a corner before the NFL season started, I think last Thursday, to make at least a divisional prognostication, who I felt the best about in the AFC South before the Titans or Colts or Jags or Texans had played a game. And so Lucas, in all of his great production work and diligence, went and found the audio of what my preseason prognostication in the AFC South would be. And something about Matt Ryan with an improved situation makes me feel worse about the Titans' circumstance, having to play them, the Jags, and Houston twice a year while still trying to maintain their place atop the division.
Andrew in the YouTube chat, Matt Ryan over Tannehill. Come on, Buck. This ain't Matt Ryan in his prime. You're wrong there. Eric also saying Matt Ryan not better than Tannehill. Alex saying I'm not even sure Matt Ryan's better than Wentz. That might be a tough take.
Dumb.
I don't know about that.
You've gone too far, Alex.
We have to draw a line.
You've gone too far.
Yeah, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
Thank you, Caleb Farley. Yeah, guess who's loud wrong today? Ya boy. I mean, Matt Ryan was an atrocity yesterday. I still can't get over how poorly he played. And many people are going to beat their chests today, especially locally. Like I saw a bunch of people on Twitter yesterday throughout the course of the games being like, I told you so, the Colts are trash. The national media doesn't know what they're talking about, blah, 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 blah. And that's all well and good. I appreciate people who are very, very quick to jump on the fact that they were right as opposed to literally a coin flip. You could have been right, you could have been wrong, and the fact that you ended up on the winning side of things, happy for you if you're somebody who is pounding your chest about useless preseason predictions today. But Matt Ryan has been an unholy mess in two games so far. One a tie, one a shutout loss. Brett, you want to take a guess at, I'm going to give you total yardage through two games, touchdowns, interceptions, and QBR. So if I asked you how many yards has Matt Ryan thrown through two games, your answer would be what?
I would say about 280.
Through two games?
Well, he only threw for 150 yesterday, and then the first game wasn't as good.
He had 195.
Oh, 195. Okay, I will go. Let's go 330.
Okay, 547. So,
I'm way off.
Wildly underbid. All right, very good by you. In two games, how many touchdown passes has Matt Ryan thrown?
He didn't throw any yesterday, obviously. Let's go with, I think is it two?
He has one touchdown, tied for 29th in the NFL. How many interceptions has Matt Ryan thrown through two games?
He threw 3 yesterday alone, one that we played coming back from the break. Trying to remember the first game, I'm going to say 5.
He has 4, tied for 31st among qualified quarterbacks and a quarterback rating on a scale of 100. What is Matt Ryan in the league right now?
It's in the league. He's probably 30th.
31.3. He's 28th. So you're that's the closest one that you've had so far.
The yards was awful on my part, but the rest was okay.
Yeah, it's a terrible job by you, but it's okay. I gave you 4 categories. We, in all of our pregame conversation or pre-show conversation and preparation, I did not tell you that I was going to ask you to pick trivial numbers about Matt
it's all good.
Quarterbacking stats. 547 yards, 1 touchdown to 4 picks, and a QBR 31.3. He has been disgusting out there. It's not all his fault, but the problems that they have, to me, don't strike me as correctable. They're not just going to find competent tackle play all of a sudden. And these are not sexy things to talk about in the offseason, but by God, do they matter when you've got a quarterback who just simply can't move. I don't doubt Matt Ryan's accuracy, even though the numbers are bad. I don't look at the Colts and say, yeah, Jonathan Taylor is a scrub now, and all of these things about Jamie Erdahl of Good Morning Football picking Jonathan Taylor as her MVP and forgetting that Derrick Henry had back-to-back rushing titles to his name, all these different things. Because I think the thing that people are most enjoying about the Colts being a nightmare are the fact that so many people loved them this offseason, as is perpetually the case. 615-737-1045 is the number. What is your favorite thing about the way that the Colts have started? In fact, Brett, I'm gonna send you on a fact-finding mission, and we'll see if your first trial by fire you're up to the task. See if you can find me the HBO in-season Hard Knocks clip. I think it's about a minute and a half long of Frank Reich's post-game locker room speech after their season-ending catastrophe in 2021, where they go to Jacksonville. They've lost to the Raiders at home in a game that they should well have won. They go about these things with the endeavor to, all right, we're going to go to Jacksonville. We're going to handle the Jags who had one win to their name prior to Week 18, and we're going to handle business. We're going to get into the playoffs, and then what will be at least we made the postseason. Fine. So, of course, they lose. Of course, they're a disaster again. And it starts this whole off-season dialogue where think pieces are being written by The Athletic about just how much this loss bothers Jim Irsay. And whatever you think of Jim Irsay, he does give his employees, as far as coach and general manager, a lot of leeway to be able to get things right. He is not an impatient owner in ways that can also be problematic. I'm not saying Jim Irsay is a terribly good owner, but at least he gives them room to work. So not only do they lose that Week 18 game, they miss the playoffs, and they're actively trying to jettison Carson Wentz out of town, but think pieces are being written. Richard Johnson tweeted this out yesterday. Multiple members of the Indianapolis Colts organization have spent the last 9 months speaking publicly about how the Jags ruined their 2021 season. They played them again on Sunday and got shut out. This was the scene in the Colts locker room, which is the only good reason for in-season Hard Knocks, after their Week 18 loss to Jacksonville.
No matter what happens, just know this. The love and respect, that we have for each other, don't let anything ever take that away. You're on a continual journey. We climb the mountain. We shoot to climb it every year, and that never stops. There's an element of this business where we're always going on to get better for the long haul, but then we got to live with the short-term results, and the short-term results right now sting. The thing that can only make that worse is if we don't learn from it and use it for next year. We got to know that. We got to believe that, because that's the truth. We all know it's the truth, that we can get better from this year. So we got to ask ourselves, did I take something from this year that will help us next year get back to where we want to get? I know everybody in here can say yes. We'll get there, man. Believe that. It's tough climbing the mountain. It's a journey that's tough, right? But we got the right stuff to do it. Just might not have been our year this year.
We've got the stuff to do. And listen, what's Frank Reich going to say in that spot? What's he going to say? he's going to say, by God, you guys sucked today. You guys were terrible. You just let the team that's had their, I can't even remember who was the interim head coach for the Jags last year after creepy Uncle Herb got fired in November or December after the Titans beat them in Nashville. I just think the juxtaposition of what they did at the end of the season and what happened yesterday, it's worse. These are the quotes that were in The Athletic this offseason from Frank Reich, Chris Ballard, and Jim Irsay. Quote, Frank and Chris and I, this is from Jim Irsay. Frank and Chris and I realized the weight of this historic collapse, he said, referring to head coach Frank Reich and his general manager, Chris Ballard. It's not normal. It's not acceptable. Most damning, Irsay said, was how poorly his team played with everything on the line. Down in Jacksonville in Week 18, all the Colts needed was a victory over the slumping 2-win Jaguars team that hadn't won in 2 months, and had been routed by 4-0 the week before. The Colts instead lost by 15. Quote, the fact that it wasn't even a close game, I can't even find the words to describe it, Irsay fumed. It was nothing I ever imagined. This was something where it caused Jim Irsay, God bless him. I wish that the Titans had ownership that was on Twitter this way, although I'm sure Titans fans do not. He goes on his Twitter account. He has a 95-second video where he's passionately pledging to Colts fans, from the biggest Colts fan at all, that next year would be different and that this would not be the acceptable standard. And then there they go, 24-0. Against the Jags yesterday. The Jags, the mighty Jacksonville Jags, by the way, now sitting at the top of this hellscape that is the AFC South.
Darrell Bevell was the interim coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. He's been an interim coach twice. His record is 2-7, and one of his wins is practically ruining the Indianapolis Colts.
Well, I'm sure Titans fans would send him a lovely gift basket, although Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence may get one as well. As we get ready to talk or dive into the matchup between the Titans and the Bills coming up here in Buffalo on Monday Night Football, I've just now gotten to the Zone TV chat, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is where you can interact. I'm going to read some of these here in just a second. I do need to remind you, though, that you can join 3HL as they broadcast live from Scoreboard Bar and Grill this Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. for their kickoff to football party. You can stop by as they officially kick off the football weekend at Scoreboard Bar and Grill, and while you're there, you can sign up to beat Brent and Slay's Picks of the Week for your chance to win tickets and prizes from Scoreboard Bar and Grill. For more information, visit 1045thezone.com/events. So we're here in Buffalo, obviously, broadcasting live, and I'll be at the game tonight. Titans, the Lee Company countdown to kickoff will begin at 4 in the middle of 3HL, 4 Central Time. And then the Titans countdown show will get going at about 5 o'clock for them to get things going. And then, of course, Jim Wyatt and I will be in the booth 15 minutes before kickoff with Rhett Bryan, and we will preview the game in the week that was in Titans news. But I'm getting a lot of feedback, Brett, on where I am right now. We were fortunate enough to have a Cumulus radio affiliate, so I could actually do the show from a radio studio instead of doing it terribly on Zoom the way that we did last season. But people are writing, JTB says, Buck, what in the 1970s hell of a hotel room are you in right now, or is that just what Buffalo looks like? Russell writes, that's a 5-star hotel by Buffalo standards. I will say that there is nothing to do here.
Well, it's like that infamous Jordan Matthews quote that I don't know if I'm allowed to say on air or not, so I won't say it. But if you know what I'm talking about, then you'll know. But I can tell you in commercial.
What the hell kind of radio is that, Brett?
Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it. I don't want to get in trouble.
Well, certainly don't do that. But if you,
I'm trying to play it safe here.
That does nothing to help the audience.
Look up, okay, for the audience, look up what Jordan Matthews feels about Buffalo, and you'll know what I'm talking about.
What the hell? I can't say it on the air, but I'll tell you during the commercial break. But if you know, is what Brett just did. Swell. We're off to yeah, you know what? You're
That's
right.
at myself.
Give yourself the sound. I also rebuke that in the name of Jesus. Let me hear it, Caleb Farley.
That in the name of Jesus.
You're damn right. This the the weather out here is, I mean, it is horrendous. Now, Davis Nolan, for Titans fans who are listening or will hear this show in some form or fashion before they get ready to tailgate, because there are a fair amount of Titans fans up here for the Monday night game. Our buddy Davis Nolan at WKRN News 2, weather maven, Davis Nolan has tweeted us a radar of this unholy storm that's hovering over the city of Buffalo right now after it was, I mean, frankly, quite nice yesterday, or at least by Buffalo standards. He tweets, this batch tapers off by afternoon, then one more brief line with a front about an hour or so before game time, leaving by kickoff. So the weather conditions for the game itself should be good if you're tailgating today. Keep your head on a swivel. All right, we will get back into the Bills and Titans momentarily, but first we have to talk about the weekend that was in college football, in the SEC particularly, and a massive win for the University of Tennessee with an even bigger game coming up this Saturday in Knoxville. We'll do that coming up next, live from Buffalo. It's 104.5 The Zone. The Leagues Cup 2022 showcase is coming this September to Geodis Park. In fact, this week, as a matter of fact. Nashville SC of MLS takes on Club America of Liga MX in an epic battle for league supremacy during the Leagues Cup 2022 showcase. It's going down 2 days from now, Wednesday, September 21st at 8 p.m. Tickets are on sale now, or if you don't have your tickets yet, I'm going to have some tickets to give away in the next couple of hours, so make sure you continue to listen. If you need to purchase tickets, though, go to NashvilleSC.com/LeaguesCup or Ticketmaster.com. You can also, if you haven't done so already, get your group of 10 or more together to go to a Nashville SC game. They have group tickets for the 2022 season at Geodis Park still available. You can take advantage of their special group pricing and benefits by securing 10 or more tickets to any home match. They start at only $22 a ticket for your group of friends, family, or work colleagues to experience Nashville's newest stadium at a great price. So go to NashvilleSC.com/LeaguesCup or Ticketmaster.com. Buffalo, New York. That sound, that song, that's Rocky Top, baby. They sold it out for a just absolute beatdown of Akron on Saturday. But this week now, as we get you ready for Titans and Bills in just a little bit, we'll get into a preview. You'll hear from Greg Cosell, Mike Vrabel, and some of the players as well, and what I need to see from Todd Downing specifically to get things going tonight in a more meaningful way. This projects as the longest week in history for fans of the Tennessee Volunteers. It is Florida week. So I got a text yesterday, and by the way, if you want to jump in on Titans, Bills, Vols, college football, anything that you would like, you are welcome to. 615-737-1045 is the number. This is going to be nuts. So I got a text yesterday from our buddy Thomas Edwards, who played offensive line for the Vols. This was on Saturday. I got a text that said, "Are you going to Knoxville this coming weekend?" And I had said, no, at this point, I thought about getting tickets. The tickets sold out. I'm not really the kind to ask people for favors. Like, I'm not going to hit Ramon or Slay up and be like, hey, I know you guys are former athletes. Why don't you hook your boy up? Even though they would probably do it in a heartbeat. I just, I always get uncomfortable. I don't like asking people for things like that because I hate when people ask me for tickets to anything. So Thomas texts me this, and all he says to me is, Dobbs and I, Josh Dobbs, probably most famous quarterback for the Tennessee Volunteers since who? Peyton?
I would say Peyton Manning, yeah.
Most effective, certainly. Dobbs and I are having a big expletive tailgate. Wanted to see if you wanted to do a radio show from the tailgate. So Josh Dobbs, Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield, Cam Sutton, and a bunch of other Vols are going to be there at this tailgate. And I said, listen, I know that Ramon and a couple other people are doing some kind of show from Calhoun's on Saturday before the game. I have no idea what our programming schedule looks like the rest of the time. If you get me the ability to go to the game, I will show up and do some kind of a show. Now, I haven't talked to our bosses about this or anything like that, so I don't know if I'm just going to walk out there with a mic pack and steal one of Kirby's speakers and try and do this thing. But I am dying to go to the University of Tennessee for my first game at Neyland to see them play Florida, because it is going to be a scene. College game day is going to be there with McAfee, Herb Street, Lee Corso, Reese Davis, and the whole 9 yards. Barstool Sports with Dave Portnoy and Big Cat, Casey Smith, their whole pregame show is going to be there. Our buddy Josh Pate, CBS, is taking their pregame show with our other friend Emily Proud down there, and of course 104.5 The Zone will have a presence too. But I am dying to go, not just because I want to experience. I've been to a Vols game at Nissan Stadium before. I've been to the Music City Bowl last year when they lost inexplicably to Purdue, and their passing offense gave up about 500 yards to a terrible Purdue team that should have no business doing that. But so I've been to a Vols game, kind of. I want to go to Neyland. I want the first time at Neyland to be against Florida, and I want my first experience to be a time when Tennessee actually beats Florida, because I think they're entirely capable of doing this. The Vols in the latest AP poll, they're the 11th best team in the country. The Gators dropped down to 20 after struggling against South Florida, losing to Kentucky 2 weeks ago, and struggling really against South Florida in their Week 3 opponent. The situation for Anthony Richardson, he was terrible in this game. So I think he still does not have a touchdown. But Joe Milton now has more touchdown passes on the season than Anthony Richardson.
Anthony Richardson has more tackles than he does touchdown passes this year.
423 yards, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, a QBR, even though he's not, it's not quite as conventional as doing it with the NFL quarterbacks. 35.9. He has been really since the opener and the victory against Utah, he's been a bit of a mess. He is not the Heisman campaign talk for Anthony Richardson and the Gators. Very, very premature, it would seem. So the Vols have an incredible opportunity to be able to not just beat Florida. I think they may handle them with relative ease. Tennessee has an 87.4% chance to beat the Gators on Saturday. The line currently on your Superbook Sports app, Tennessee by 10.5. So when I saw this clip from Barstool Sports yesterday, they employ a Gators fan, apparently, who got access to the main Barstool account and decided he was going to chirp at Tennessee. I saw this clip, and I was left confused because he didn't watch the same game that I watched of the Gators on Saturday.
Is this thing on? Tennessee fan. What's Tennessee known for? Tennessee known for country music, whiskey, great Tennessee whiskey. Now, nowhere in this status that I say Tennessee is known for football. Every year around this time, somebody from Tennessee get online and say something slick about the Florida. Y'all ass. Like, we beat y'all, we drag y'all, we mutt y'all out every single year. And y'all thinking because we having a little offensive struggle right now that it's going to be different this year? Imagine not winning a national championship since the 90s. I can't relate. 2006, 2008. Imagine the greatest player in Tennessee history never beating a Gator. Peyton Manning. People think of the colors orange and blue. They think of the University of Florida. When people think of orange and white, the first thing that comes to my mind is Garfield. Where the lasagna? When people think of Florida, they think of South Beach. They think of white women in yoga pants drinking coffee. They think of football players. When people think of Tennessee, they think of one dude with 2 first names wearing overalls, saying volunteer, and still trying to figure out what the hell y'all mascot got to do with being a volunteer. How the hell y'all mascot in a checkerboard correlate? But who cares, because y'all Vol Nation. Ain't even Vol Nation. The best team in Tennessee is Memphis. The most popular orange and blue thing in the world is a Gator fan. The most popular orange thing in the world was Nemo in the ocean. Tennessee is where the football players go when they can't get offers from the University of Florida. Nobody picks the University of Tennessee over the University of Florida. Now, my name is Josh Prey. Do I admit that we are having some offensive struggles? Yes. Do I admit that I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with our quarterback? Yes. But am I 100% behind him? As long as he's behind him, you goddamn right. I am a Gator fan by day, and I'm a monster at night. And Tennessee ain't got... Hold on. Hello? Ma, Tennessee fans was talking junk to me first, Ma. Ma, they feel like they gonna beat us, Ma. Ma ain't even cut. Yes, ma'am. My mama told me to tell y'all Tennessee volunteer fans that she hope y'all have a good game and may the best team win and be nice because God don't like ugly. Ma, I said what you wanted me to say, but I got a question, Ma. If God don't like ugly, why he let them design their uniforms like that, Ma? Saturday when we get to Knoxville, Tennessee, and Gator Nation into the building, I'm telling y'all right now, it's going to be a bloody murder. It's going to be a massacre. This thing going to get uglier than Flavor Flav eyes with a Steve Harvey mustache with a polished short haircut. Gator Nation. Left, under right, do it right.
That's a chomp in the background. Florida's quarterback, Anthony Richardson, was 10 of 18, 112 yards and 2 interceptions. What is he talking about? Florida looks inept on offense after the Utah game, has not been able to figure out, lost dramatically to Kentucky, yes, almost lost to South Florida on Saturday afternoon. I am dying to go see this game in Neyland because I think Vols fans are out for blood. I think that battered Vol syndrome is no longer a thing. I think that they want the Gators in full force in Neyland on Saturday, and I am dying to be there to witness this. So we're going to see if I can't work something out to make the trip down with Ramon and Slay and everybody else that's going. We will see how these things manifest, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about the Vols throughout the course of the week once we get through this Monday Night Football game. But in the meantime, we are here in Buffalo broadcasting live, and I have things that I need to see from Todd Downing, as I'm sure you do as well. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved. If you give us the thing that you think Todd Downing needs to work on the most to be able to give the Titans an opportunity for success, the best nominee will get 2 tickets to see Nashville SC host Club America for the League's Cup Showcase at Geodis Park on Wednesday, September 21st, thanks to Window Nation. The 104.5 The Zone ticket window is now open thanks to Window Nation. So call us, 615-737-1045. Give us the thing that you need to see improvement from offensive coordinator Todd Downing. The best one will go see Nashville SC host Club America on Wednesday. You'll hear from Greg Cosell as well coming up next. Summer is over, but that joint pain is still hanging on. It's time to do something about it. Hey, it's Buck Reising. I want you to call QC Kinetics now. You've put it off long enough. It's time to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, your backs, your shoulders, your hips, anywhere you may experience it. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments. No drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Regenerative medicine uses highly concentrated healing properties from your own body to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. And QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting breakthrough natural approach to eliminating joint pain. Lots of people here have done this, and they are living life to the fullest, pain-free. Don't assume the old ways of dealing with joint pain are the only ways. Call QC Kinetics today. Stop putting it off. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024.
It's 11:02. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. The Tennessee Titans travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills tonight on Monday Night Football. It is the 5th consecutive season the two teams have faced each other, and the 2nd straight year it has been on Monday night. The Titans are looking to bounce back from a disappointing Week 1 loss to the New York Giants. In the Bills, Tennessee is facing one of the top quarterbacks in the league in Josh Allen, who had 4 total touchdowns against the Rams 2 Thursdays ago. Titans safety Amani Hooker told Ramon and Will that defending a dual threat such as Allen can be difficult.
It just depends on what angle you're coming in at. You know, if you come in on the side, he's going to try and stiff arm you. You know, if you're coming in straight up, he might try to jump over you, or he might try to truck you. So you just got to treat him like a running back. You know, if he slides late, just put your hands out in front and avoid the head or neck area.
Kickoff set for 6:15 tonight with Mike Keith and Dave McGinnis on Titans Radio. Christian Fulton, Dontrell Hilliard, and Jamarco Jones all ruled out for tonight's game. The other Monday Night Football game tonight is Minnesota at Philadelphia at 7:30. After zapping the Akron Zips on Saturday, the Tennessee Volunteers, number 11 in the AP poll, number 12 in the coaches poll, the 3-0 Vols will host Florida on Saturday at 2:30 in a sold-out Neyland Stadium. It is also going to be a checkerboard night out at Neyland Stadium as well. For all foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second down on a Monday. Welcome in live from something overcast Buffalo, stormy Buffalo, not scenic Buffalo. Although I'm sure the falls are lovely, even in the mist. Happy to have you guys here with me. Brett Batchelor is back at home base in Nashville, making it happen. Lucas Panzica, God knows where. Not here to derail the proceedings, though. He'll be back with us here tomorrow as he is on his way to Buffalo. In fact, he should have landed by now. Should be here in Buffalo in just a little while. You are welcome to participate. 615-737-1045 is the number. You call that number. You tell us what you need to see, where you need to see the Titans, and more specifically, Titans offensive coordinator Todd Downing improve today. We are going to give you a pair of tickets to go to Nashville SC's big match against Club America on Wednesday. The best selection, the one that strikes me the best. It's not necessarily I think it's as fair as humanly possible. But I'm kind of hard to please when it comes to this stuff because you know that I'm going to push back on it. And certainly I'm going to play you some analysis from Greg Cosell on our most recent episode of The Install that may dissuade you from thinking about Todd Downing and the Titans offense, dissuade you from thinking the way that you may have previously approached this. But that's fine. I'm looking forward to a good conversation about it. So the Titans on offense, we know the way that they went down, 21-20, and the decisions that were made. They have been discussed at length. We have heard from Todd Downing on the failed 3rd and 1. He has taken responsibility of that, and he said, shouldn't have called it there, should have gotten something going downhill, and on and on and on it goes. He gave you the pound of flesh that you required, and instead of it kind of putting the thing to rest and it being just a moment of, hey, the coach said the thing that you wanted him to say, can we all just please God move on now? No. Immediately after that happened on Friday, we started getting calls, not just questioning Todd Downing's ability to call an offense, but now questioning his personnel decisions, which he has now opened himself up to for the remainder of the season. Because he said the thing. He said he was wrong on 3rd and 1 with a Chigakonkwo end around. Now, as I kind of approach this and look at what I need to see from the Titans against the Bills tonight, there's a variety of different factors, but one that sticks out in a big way. The thing, though, that I want you to keep in mind before you give us your analysis of this game, and we'll get to that shortly, I want you to hear from Greg Cosell on a question that I asked him about first down predictability for the Titans and whether that was something he took away in his tape study. With the situation for Cosell, We'll get to that momentarily. Brett, you said you don't have it yet? Okay, we'll get that audio for you momentarily. But basically, as you look at the situation for the Titans, I'm going to give you some numbers on them from last week. Now, we know the way that they lost 21-20. Randy misses the field goal. No good, wide left, and everybody's miserable for a week. Ryan Tannehill's efficiency was fine, 20 of 33. 33 passing attempts is probably more than you'd look for in that circumstance, but they did end up having to throw the ball a little more because the Giants made a mess of things after the Titans did well to hold them down 13-0. He had the 2 touchdown passes to Dontrell Hilliard. Dontrell Hilliard has already been ruled out as of Saturday for this game. So you lose the thing that I think that they did well to find this offseason, and really, I guess, last season by nature of the acquisition of Dontrell. They have a legitimate receiving threat out of the backfield, and not just a guy who you can throw screen passes or throw flare passes to. You can do it. You can do that with Derek, and you can be just fine. No, this is somebody who understands the nuances of route running. This is somebody who gets landmarks and spacing, and who you can run a go route out of the backfield to, throw it in a tight window, and understand that the running back is going to make the play there, just as he did twice for both of those passing touchdowns for Ryan Tannehill. Something that's also in question here to keep in mind. Jamarco Jones has been ruled out, but he hasn't been a factor all year long, so whatever you take from that. We'll talk about the defensive side of the ball because Christian Fulton will not play in this game either. But Kyle Phillips, the rookie wide receiver who led the team in targets by a considerable amount for what it's worth. 9 targets. The next closest was Treylon Burks with 5. Led the team in receptions, had 6 catches. The next closest was Hilliard and Burks, and Jeff Swaim tied for 3. And led them in receiving yardage as well. 66 yards to Dontrell Hilliard's 61. Treylon Burks had 55. So, counting stats are all well and good, but the efficiency of Phillips and Tannehill as a connection is something that we know, something that we have learned throughout the course of the offseason is going to be able to be relied upon, something that we know is going to be something that is going to be an asset to them when they are driving, as they did against the Giants, to set up the 2-minute, to kick a game-winning field goal, and to have a walk-off win, the way that the Cowboys did well to execute yesterday against the Bengals. The Titans, obviously, it comes down to the field goal from 47, and Randy misses, as we have litigated at great length. But the thing that I need to see from Todd Downing is this. I understand that the biggest criticism of Todd was that he did unpredictable things in the spot where it pays off the most to be predictable. 3rd and short. 3rd and 1, end around a Chig, not ideal. 3rd and 1 on the first drive of the second half, shotgun or direct snap to Derrick Henry. Not ideal. Also on Derrick, because Derrick needs to be not looking off to the side when the ball is snapped so he doesn't bobble the snap and get tackled for a loss. 3rd and short situations when Derrick is not on the field, though, is something that they did struggle with. They were 3 of 11 last week. It is as big a reason as any that they did fail to capitalize and to really hold the Giants down the way that they should have. We'll talk about defense at length because I think 238 yards against any team in any form or fashion is something, with those kind of explosive plays, the way that those 238 yards came about, can't have it. So when I look at the predictability, where do I need Todd Downing to improve more? Do I need him to improve more on 1st down or on 3rd down? And the answer to me comes back to 1st down. Now, their 1st down efficiency is not something that the Titans coaching staff is going to go back and look at and say, we didn't do well enough, or we didn't execute well enough. On 1st down, both run and pass, by any standard, they were efficient enough. But the amount of times, 18 total, I believe, that they ran Derrick Henry on 1st and 10, if you're going to be predictable with Derrick, I think the best option, we can all agree, is to do it in short yardage. He is more difficult to stop on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 than he is on 1st and 10. I'm sure if I went back and charted this, and I would have to do some legwork this week, perhaps I will, depending on how this game goes, on what their success rate with Derek on 1st and 10 is when it comes to explosive plays. Because Todd said on that 3rd and 1, remember, that he was playing the percentages, that he was putting the team in the best position, he thought, because in that certain defensive look, the percentages said that they would be more likely to get caught off guard with an end-around play, rookie tight end or otherwise, in that circumstance, which is why the call was made. So I would be curious to know what their percentages are with Derrick Henry and explosive plays of 20-plus yards on 1st and 10, because they're probably playing percentages there too. But it is so much easier to throw the ball on 1st down with the protection that it seems like they're going to have with the offense, even as Derrick Henry is the driving force. I think a lot of people are going to say, I think Todd Downing is going to get criticized one way or the other, even in wins. I think that's just going to be the nature of how this goes this season. There's nothing that can be done really to dissuade that, and that's fine. You're allowed to be pissed about whatever you want to be pissed about in any given moment. But the larger thing to me is how they kind of adapt. It's really the story of their season. I don't want to see them playing 21 to 20 games all the time. I don't want to see them playing 19 to 16 games. This was the final score in the Bengals game all the time. They have an exceptional record in these close games. Mike Vrabel says that they do well when they play games that tightly. And listen, he's correct. Their record in one-score games has been exceptional. It is also incredibly hard to rely upon that and to live just that way. So if they have the ability to get up early using the pass on 1st down to make them more efficient, and for Derek to be the closer on 3rd and 1, on 3rd and short, late in games, if you are amassing Derrick Henry rushing yards, let it be in the second half as opposed to the first. Let it be to maximize the efficiency of the hammer that is Derrick Henry in those big spots. That is, I think, the thing from a growth standpoint, and we'll see how it progresses this season. It's not just going to be from one game to the next. I think I've talked about that all off season long. You have no idea who your football team is going to be until basically October. And even then, injuries will impact kind of how this thing goes along as every team experiences injury. But if you're asking me what I need to see more from Todd Downing more than anything else, I need to see predictability in the places that it makes the most sense to be predictable. But on 1st down, just don't get nuts. 615-737-1045. We'll get to your phone calls on this as well. You'll hear from Mike Vrabel, from Todd Downing, and Greg Cosell in your phone calls with the opportunity to win a pair of Nashville SC tickets live from Buffalo. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Aren't a lot of guarantees these days when it comes to the cost of things, and especially when you have to wonder what interest rates will be in the future. You're not psychic, you don't have a crystal ball, but Two Rivers Ford, as usual, are going to take the uncertainty out of things. They're going to make things easy because they are offering guarantees, like great prices and a locked-in interest rate when you custom order a 2023 model year Ford. Right now, when you custom order an F-150, a Ranger, an Edge, Bronco Sport, Escape, Mustang, or Explorer, like I have, they'll guarantee 2.9% APR for 60 months for all qualified buyers. So you can order now and lock in a great rate for whenever you start paying. That's the kind of peace of mind that Two Rivers Ford offers. They'll also give you $500 bonus cash on top of their already low prices. So at Two Rivers Ford, you can custom order a new non-specialty Ford below MSRP, get $500 bonus cash, and lock in your interest rate. The best prices and guaranteed rates, all at a locally owned dealership with non-commissioned salespeople. That's why Two Rivers Ford is the best. So custom order your next Ford from Two Rivers Ford.
The Buck Reising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Game day from the Queen City. Buffalo, New York is where we are broadcasting live, the site of Monday Night Football, the first of two Monday Night Football games here at Highmark Stadium. Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock Central. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. So you're going to hear from Mike Vrabel and Todd Downing here in just a second about some things offensively that came into question after the Giants' loss. But what Brett now informs me that we have the first down predictability analysis from Greg Cosell. So before we get some phone calls on this, I want you to hear from Greg. Now, keep in mind that Greg approaches this from a coaching standpoint. Greg is not a hot taker. Greg watches film. He watches the way that these coaches game plan against one another, basically the chess match, if you want to be cliche, and he bases his analysis off that. So when I came to Greg with, a question about first down predictability, this was his response to my question.
Well, again, first of all, they had great success on first down, both running the ball and throwing the ball. Henry was 17 for 73 on first down. Now, that's 4.3 yards a rush, which every coach would take. What was lacking in this game was there were really no big explosive runs by Henry. He had an 18-yarder, and other than that, there were no real big runs, which I think everybody just gets used to him making every game, Buck. But there weren't those in this game. So 17 for 73 is pretty good. Now, Tannehill was 9 for 10 for 135 and 2 TDs, with 6 of those completions resulting in first downs. So, yes, you could look at those numbers and say, wow, they should throw it more. But, my guess is that when they evaluate this game and their first down plays and their first down approach, they're going to feel pretty good about it within the context of what they do. They are a running football team first and foremost. I don't think fans in Nashville would probably say, let's stop giving the ball to Derrick Henry. So overall, I think their first down ratio was probably what they would like, and they were very successful on first down.
So that's Greg Cosell's analysis of the Titans on first down. Brett, I need the Silly Laser Light Show breaking news sounder because we do have breaking Titans news.
Breaking sports news on 104.5 The Zone.
From Tom Pelissero on Twitter. The Titans are elevating wide receiver Josh Gordon from the practice squad for tonight's game against the Bills, per his agent Zach Hiller. Josh, this is the quote, Josh just needs opportunities to prove that he's still the incredible player and talent that he's always been. So, here we go. This would also indicate to me that Kyle Phillips' status, uncertain status, is even less certain now. So keep that in mind as we move forward for the inactive reports. We'll see what happens. I don't know what time they have to put out the game day elevations, but we will keep you updated with that as we go along. Josh Gordon up, it would seem. Whether he is on the game day roster, the 46-man roster, is not necessarily guaranteed, but this is a good indication that he will see some snaps tonight in some form or fashion. Interesting. 615-737-1045. You can react to that, or we can talk about the offense. We can do both of those things because they have equal amount of importance. John in Murfreesboro is next. Hello, John. Hello, John.
Consistent play calling, and that doesn't mean consistently running or consistently passing. I don't want to see Todd Downing get cute. Todd Downing did a great. Everybody here wants to crucify him. He did a great job last year without Derrick Henry. I mean, we became the number 1 seed because of it, and I don't think that was the players playing in spite of the play calling. I think that was a combination of the players doing well and the play calling. So what I want to see is a lot of what we did last year on top of having Derek be able to run the ball. I don't expect to win tonight. I'm rational about that, but I expect to see improvement.
I appreciate the call, John. 615-737-1045. To me, they were predictable last year out of necessity. And I feel like I've said this a million times, so forgive me if I'm in reruns, but I do think it is worth reiterating in a situation like this. They were predictable out of necessity because the personnel for them was constantly shifting. You cannot utilize your full playbook, one would imagine, if you are pulling guys off the street who are going to have to play meaningful snaps for you on a Sunday when you add them to your roster on a Thursday. There's an acclimation process. Largely plays are the same. Terminology is different. So it's almost a dumbed-down approach that you have to have because you don't want to put players in bad positions. The worst thing, the biggest thing that coaches fear is the unknown of miscues and miscommunications. Wrong routes being run lead to interceptions. Wrong run assignments or run blocking techniques can put you in bad positions. All these different things. Now, what I think is that they were always going to have running production, no matter, I don't want to say no matter who was back there, because I do think Dontrell Hilliard and Deontay Foreman earned the new contracts that they got, one from the Panthers and Dontrell Hilliard staying on with the Titans. But Derek was not nearly as hard to replace as A.J. Brown was in the passing game. Now, ironically enough, I feel okay about their passing game. But the thing that I think I want to come back to is what Mike Vrabel said about not going to one specific guy with the means of, quote-unquote, getting him going. This was the head coach earlier this week.
Well, I think we just need production from everybody. That's the key. It doesn't have to do anything with age or experience. It's just making sure that that we're all focused on the details, that everybody's working to get open, whether it's man or zone, being where they're supposed to be. And again, the quarterback has to make great decisions, be smart with the ball, be decisive. We don't necessarily look at, okay, we got to get this guy going. I mean, we're going to obviously have some things that are for guys, but we just have to make sure that everybody's in the right spot and the quarterback makes a decision.
So that's antithetical or antithetical. One of those words is right. I'm not sure which. But it kind of works against the notion that, all right, feed Derrick Henry, target Treylon Burks, get them going early, get them in rhythm, find ways to get their confidence level up in games so that they can continue to produce. You can have a defense key on them in the first half and then move away from it in the second half once you've kind of had a little bit of eye candy in that direction, right? That's not what Mike Vrabel is saying is their preferred offensive approach. So I'll play you a clip from Todd Downing, or rather Brett will, here in just a second, but we'll continue to see what you guys feel about this Titans game. Josh in Franklin is next.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. My prediction, or what I need for the Titans to do, is just to run the ball. I'm going to go against Buck on this one, but just run the ball, take that play clock all the way down, and take all that time off, keep the Buffalo offense off the field. And then, of course, if you can, get Henry to that second level, because I want to see another Bills secondary player on a Derrick Henry poster.
Thanks for the call. Yeah, another Josh Norman situation, perhaps. 615-737-1045. So, Josh is one of these establish the run people. Now, that does not that we're not going to take him out of consideration just because his opinion runs up against mine for the Nashville SC tickets, which you'll have the opportunity to win with the best response here. But here's why I think the notion of keep the Bills off the field is flawed. Let me see on their scoring drives as I look at this game this game chart from their opener against the Rams, right? The NFL season opener. Their drives went this way. They did end up having 4 turnovers, and they still won by 21, for what that's worth. By the way, a little bit of breaking NFL news, not necessary for the Laser Light Show sound, but Adam Schefter is saying that the NFL has suspended Bucs wide receiver Mike Evans for Sunday's unnecessary roughness with Saints cornerback Marshawn Lattimore. Suspended 1 game for previous fracas. I like that word, fracas, with Lattimore in 2017. So it does not say how long Mike Evans is suspended currently. No, Adam Schefter has just followed up 1 game for the suspension for Mike Evans. So just a side note. But as to the Bills' scoring drive, so they open the game with the touchdown. There's a tip drill interception on the next drive. Touchdown, interception, fumble, field goal, interception, touchdown, 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 fumble, end of game. So on their scoring drives, they go in this order. 9:56 for the first scoring drive. On the field goal, we'll say 8:48. 7:59, 13:27, 9:25. That was the average. That seems awfully high, but it does. That is what is the time being lost in the middle of the drive that the Bills ended up scoring on. So they are taking up a substantial amount of clock in their scoring drives in this opener, but they have worked well to improve their running game. And they are dragging, or rather not dragging things out, but dragging the Rams down by nature of their improved running game. The idea that keeping the Bills off the field is a successful approach assumes that the Bills can't score quickly, which of course we know teams in the modern era of NFL football can score with great efficiency, can score with great speed. Kansas City, the Chargers, Buffalo, the Titans can do that from time to time. They do it far more with their running game, with Derek on explosive plays, than they do with their passing game necessarily. Although, with A.J. Brown and Ryan Tannehill, that has also been a part of the equation, if not quite as obvious as all those other teams. Miami is now a part of these. Baltimore, they score with great quickness to be able to get back into these games. So the idea that all you're doing is you're bleeding the clock down on yourself if you run the ball early, leaving you with less opportunities, who takes longer to score than a team like Buffalo, who has the Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs connection and can rip one off for 75 yards at any given point. That's the kind of thing that jumps out to me. You know what, Brett? I just read the wrong times. I read the wrong time. I thought that sounded entirely too long for this. Can I get some kind of sound that shames me? Yeah, I deserve that.
Yeah, I
All
rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
Both of those things. Thank you. The rare double shame for reading the internet wrong. I was saying 13:24. That doesn't make any damn sense. Half a quarter or a full quarter that it's taking them to score on a drive. That's not right. I've got the possession time now. 5:04 was the opening drive for the Bills. Their next score took 4:07, 5:03, 6:44, 1:36. So far less than the initial times that I read, and about an average of somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 5 minutes per scoring drive that it takes the Bills to get up and down the field. Now, a couple of those had explosive plays involved. Certainly the one to Stephon Diggs over the head of Jalen Ramsey towards the end was it only took 3 plays, but 9 plays, 8 plays, 8 plays, 13 plays, and 3 plays in the final score for the Bills to be able to get over the top. I just think you limit your own opportunities if you want to play keep away. I despise conservative offensive play calling in football, especially when you have the passing game to do it. I don't know why people are so down on the Titans passing game. I felt fine about the Titans passing game. Like I said, there's some dopey decisions made in there, but the rest of it, like they were distributing the ball to a variety of different targets. Ryan Tannehill was efficient and took care of the football. Yes, Dontrell Hilliard does make a difference, and they'll have to find some way to mitigate that loss tonight. But there's nothing about that indicates to me that the Titans passing game can't be better, can't be the driving force with Derek as the closer, even though that's, completely juxtaposed to the way they want to play. Let's go to Mark in Murfreesboro, who's up next.
All right. So I really think that Todd Downing just needs to let go of the percentage plays and put in power plays. And I mean, where it's 3 and 1, 3rd and 1, run the ball as that will get you power. That's power. That's power in your running back. I was watching the game last night against the Bears in Green Bay, and there was a point of time where it was like 4th and 1, and they were right at the goal line. Chicago.
Who, Bears or Packers?
The Bears. They came out in a shotgun formation, and they ran it with Fields.
Yeah.
You know, what is the purpose in having a running back if he can't get paid what he does? What's the point in having an offensive coordinator if you're being a professor out there and you're thinking, you're overthinking instead of using your game plan? You know you got Derrick Henry back there. Don't go for 3rd and 1. And I also think don't go for a jet sweep with a tight end on 3rd and 1. Everybody's over that. But I'm saying use your power instead of percentages. And also I think 2nd down needs to be our big plays, not 1st down, not 3rd down. 2nd down, throw a couple of quick slants. We got quick slant runners that are quick and can get some rack soon as they catch the ball. So I think quick slants on 2nd down or just quick plays. If you watch Josh Allen, he gets the ball out of his hands so quick. So I think.
Thanks for the call, Mark. That music you hear drowning you out is the 60-second. We have our own play clock. The NFL, it's 40 seconds. On the radio show, it is 60 seconds. That music means that you have exceeded the time. But I largely think that he's made the best point, or the point that the point that I probably take away most, and kind of have felt this way all week long. There are so many different ways to play the percentages in your favor without being married to them, right? And I'm not necessarily accusing them of being married to percentages that way, because I think the percentages would say, yeah, the 260-pound running back on 3rd and short, give it to him. That's going to give you a far greater percentage than anything else. My position is that of Mark's. Trust Derek in the spot. But we've had this problem, this difference in philosophical approach with the Titans and Derrick Henry on 3rd down specifically, where he comes out of the game so often on 3rd down, and I wonder if they're just trying to not give it all away right there, because you know that Derrick's going to run. I mean, you can stop a 3rd and 1 halfback dive. It's not unprecedented, even if Derrick is harder than the average running back to stop in that spot. And I also wonder if they're not doing it to protect him a little bit, because it's just so much more contact when everybody knows you're getting it, when the 300-pound rage monsters that are paid to stop you are sitting there waiting for you to just crack you in that moment. So let's hear from Todd Downing on 3rd down runs specifically. The Titans OC spoke on Friday this week.
That you guys had on 3rd down, been a lot of talk about that. What needed to happen better for that play to succeed?
A better play call. That was a bad call. I take full responsibility for that call. Played a percentage off of what we had seen from that defense in short yardage. Obviously had a little miscue earlier in the game on short yardage and got a little too aggressive with that call. Should have got something downhill, and that's on me.
So that was Todd Downing. We'll come back to the Titans on offense later on in the show, but we'll have Caitlin Kaler. Now, I just saw she announced her new position as one of the senior writers at The Athletic for their NFL content. She had a great piece on Defector about how much NFL teams respect Mike Vrabel and the Titans in a different way that they play the percentages. Caitlin will explain that coming up next. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is the place that you need to go if you've been dealing with a broken down or older HVAC unit. You know how irritating, how annoying, how inconvenient that can be, especially if you've got other things to do that day and you don't necessarily want to worry about your HVAC malfunctioning. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is the place for you. They can replace old units before regulation changes that cause a 20+% increase. They have 18 months of no payment. You can get today's price. You can get them today at today's price and don't pay for it until spring of 2024, or do up to $1,500 off. They always back their work with a 10-year parts and labor warranties on York products. They also, at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, are a York certified comfort expert company, which means they will go above and beyond to meet the industry standard. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is a locally owned business that has been keeping Middle Tennesseans in their comfort zone for over 20 years. So when the summer or the weather is at its hottest, they are at their best. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, 2 locations to serve you, Columbia and Lyles, and available anytime at springhillac.com. Welcome back live from Buffalo. Titans and Bills, Monday Night Football, coming up a little later on. You can hear the broadcast right here on 104.5 The Zone. We're happy to have Kalen Kaler back on the show. Been a while since we've talked to Kalen, who is now one of The Athletic's newest senior NFL writers. Congratulations on the new position. And I got to tell you, this piece, the last piece that you wrote for Defector about how NFL teams scout the refs, I felt like I had to read it 4 times through to make sure that I wasn't missing anything, because the detail in this is so well done and so specific about how these NFL teams go about it, Kalen, that it must have been a pretty arduous write.
Yeah, definitely. First of all, thank you, Buck. I'm excited to start at The Athletic, but also everyone should subscribe to The Athletic and Defector while they're at it. They're both 2 great publications. Anyways, but yeah, it was, I mean, I started this at the Combine last year, is really when I started it, because a few weeks before that, as the lead of the story is the Cowboys-Niners wild card game, the very last play where the clock ran out on Dak and the Cowboys because they didn't let the umpire through to spot the ball, and Dak ran a little bit too far with only 14 seconds left, and it was the whole thing, and everybody was freaking out about it, and I also was freaking out about it. So right after that play, I talked to a game management coach for a different team, and, this is somebody who specializes in the rule book in scenarios just like this where, they're looking at the odds of the percentage of winning at certain points in the game, and just that in-game end-of-game scenarios. So we were talking about this play, and, he mentioned that the umpire on the play, Ramon George, is in the best shape of any umpire in the NFL. And he's like, that's how they didn't have enough time on the clock, because Ramon George couldn't even keep up with the play. And he's the one who can, run the fastest. And I was like, wait a second, this is crazy. How do you know that? Like, how do you, just at the top of your mind, know kind of like a fitness rankings of the officials?
Oh, sure.
And he was like, yeah, I know everything about them. And so that is kind of how I got the idea for the story. And from there, I just started, trying to meet and talk to as many game management, analytics staffers as I could, who are sort of dealing in this area of trying to get every single data point that they can about the officiating crews that they face every week.
I think we all kind of take it on face value when coaches talk about, the amount of preparation that goes into a week of work, and, sleeping on blow up mattresses in the facility after losses because they have to get every detail down. But when you consider all the variables that we do not consider, at least the average fan, of the game, and how much more or how much further it goes beyond that, it's something that Mike Vrabel, at least locally, gets talked about a lot. He's had several different games, both playoff and regular season, where Mike has manipulated the rules in their favor or known better the rules than the officiating crew that may work the game. He's also a part of the competition committee, so I would imagine that it's a part of that role that he has to at least have some kind of grasp. But in reporting this out, you talked to several different coaches about not just other teams that utilize the rule book well, but about the officials. What information did you get back on the Titans, and specifically Mike Vrabel, though?
Yeah, so the Titans and Vrabel kept coming up, because when I would have these guys on the phone, I would say, okay, well, who's the team that does this well, that you can tell scout the officials well, that their players are coached well in situational football, because one of the problems with that Cowboys play is that the players seemingly all forgot that they could not spot the ball themselves. I mean, that's sort of like a basic 101 of football, but none of them remembered, and they were trying to spot the ball themselves. And there are some teams that when you watch them, you can tell the players are really well-versed in what the role of the officials are and how to help them. So the Titans are specifically coached, do not throw the football to the official because they might drop it. These are not athletes. These are, they're supposed to be in good shape. They have to pass a conditioning test every year, but don't risk missing time on the clock because you threw the ball instead of handing the ball to them. So little tiny things like that. A lot of other teams do that as well, but the Titans just kept coming up as a team that really does a good job in not just the coaches knowing, but giving that information to the players. And Vrabel's right-hand man, John Stryker, who they call Stretch,
Yep.
That's his nickname. Yeah, I'm sure you know about him. He kept coming up too as somebody who's really good at this. And I know that every Friday, Stretch will do a presentation to the Titans players, like a compilation of different penalties that happened in the last week that, they should know about because of, maybe it's the way that the players played with that officiating crew that they're going to face the next week, because every officiating crew, they do have tendencies and they do have differences. And so, some of them you can get away with a little bit more if you're an offensive lineman when it comes to holding or pass interference. They all have sort of a different definition of what that contact is. So Stretch will do a presentation every Friday for the players going over these things and also going over, certain different end of game scenarios where, it gets tricky. And as we've seen in the last week, like with the Broncos in particular with their new head coach, like game management at the end of games is not easy. And it is something that I think most teams in the NFL are spending a lot more time on. But in particular, like the Titans, a lot of people told me, when you have a head coach that is not the play caller, that is not the offensive play caller, that coach is better. Those type of coaches are better at the whole, rules, knowing the rules and the end of game scenarios, because they aren't so focused on calling the offensive plays. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So if you see like head coaches with a defensive background or a special teams background, those coaches tend to be better at this aspect of the game.
At Kaylin Kaler is where you can follow her. The piece is on defector.com. Kaylin currently writing for theathletic.com, but as she mentioned, both exceptional publications and both well worth your subscription for the kind of detail in this journalism that we're talking about. Kaylin, as we sit here talking about, I've just gotten a text from somebody who was a part of the Titans organization saying it's called Friday Teach Tape, best part of the week.
Oh, there you go.
So this is exactly something that stretches such an integral part of what they do that people were shocked, I think, locally, Kaylin, when Mike Vrabel had COVID in 2020, and instead of Jim Schwartz, a former NFL head coach, taking over the headset for a preseason game, they gave it to Stretch, and we all looked around and said, "Oh, that's a pretty curious situation." But nobody knows Mike as well as Stretch does, and sure enough, without the reporting that you've done, it's not been clear to us just how integrally involved he is.
Yeah, and I really wish that either of them would have talked to me for this story, but I understand. Yeah, like I understand why, they didn't, because, as I mentioned in the story, like every team thinks that they have an advantage over every other team, even though really a lot of them are just doing the same stuff. But, I do think like in the scenario, in the story I wrote about a scenario last season against the Saints. The Saints were at the Titans. It was the end of game. The officiating crew missed a 10-second runoff that Vrabel was on the sideline, shouting for. And, I didn't talk to Vrabel or Stryker for this story. So, Vrabel probably was aware of that on his own. He was probably, well-versed in the rule book enough to know, like, the refs missed something here and I want the 10-second runoff. And the officials didn't listen to him. So he wasn't actually able to fix their error in real time. But with other teams, that would be something that the game management guy, the person in Stretch's role, that's what they're doing for their head coaches who may not know the rule book as well as Vrabel does, since he's on the competition committee and this is clearly like a focus of his coaching. So a lot of the game management guys I talked to were like, yeah, like most people in the NFL have not read the rule book. And the thing is 285 pages long. There's multiple different documents in addition to the rule book. It's crazy. I mean, I was like up until 2 a.m. one night, like trying to decipher a certain rule and make sure I had it right. And I really felt like I was So it is a lot to ask of these head coaches that they know everything. And so that's why so many of them will have someone on their staff, like particularly dedicated to being that person for them.
At Kaylin Kaler is where you follow her. Kaylin, we've unfortunately run out of time. It's such a great piece. I urge people to go read this to understand just how much goes into the decision-making these head coaches and their staff have to make and the preparation that goes throughout the course of the week. But certainly we'll have to have you back on because I know there's more great work coming at theathletic.com. Thank you for the time.
Thanks so much, Buck. Have a great night tonight at the game.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and keep my my safe distance from Bills Mafia. This is my first time covering one in Buffalo, so if I can avoid the condiments everywhere that people seem to dump on themselves amidst all the alcohol, I'll consider it a success.
Yeah, that's probably smart. Thanks for having me.
That's Kaylin Kaler with us on 104.5 The Zone. All right, some pretty interesting information there from Kaylin. We can react to that coming up next. It certainly have a role to play for the Titans against the Bills tonight, and we'll discuss the elevation of Josh Gordon to the Titans wide receiver core and what that means for the rest of the roster. I'm Buck Reising, live from Buffalo. It's 104.5 The Zone. Tennessee Men's Clinic is the place that you need to go if you have been just generally feeling run down as of late. Here's a pretty big statistic for men. Easy for me to say. Over the past 20 years, studies have shown that testosterone levels have started to drop in men way earlier than they used to. Before, men really didn't even think about their T levels until they were in their 50s. But these days, the Tennessee Men's Clinic are seeing men in their late 20s and early 30s with decreasing testosterone. Now, there's not answers or all the answers for why this is happening specifically. We know things like alcohol and diet can certainly affect your testosterone levels. Even the plastic in the environment can bring your T levels down. Some of the side effects of decreasing testosterone can include lack of motivation, weight gain specifically around the belly no matter how much you work out, grumpiness, maybe just missing out on family time together in the evenings because you are just your energy levels are gone. You can't keep yourself awake, and you start to fall asleep earlier in the evening, start to miss that quality time with your family after a long workday. The Tennessee Men's Clinic can certainly help you get right. Your quality of life does not have to decrease, even though your testosterone levels might be. The Tennessee Men's Clinic has successfully treated thousands of men for low T. $99 gets you a testosterone and PSA test, and in a matter of minutes, you will know your numbers. Make this the day that you start to improve your life. Call the Tennessee Men's Clinic today, 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
From the Superbook.com sports desk, I'm Jonathan Schaefer. The Tennessee Titans and the Buffalo Bills are set to face each other for the 5th consecutive season and the 2nd straight year on Monday Night Football. After losing to the New York Giants in Week 1, the Titans will try to stave off an 0-2 start against a team that many feel are the favorites to win the Super Bowl. Mr. Monday Night Keith Bullock told Ramon and Will that it'll take a total team effort from the Titans to beat Buffalo and will be an opportunity for players to take on larger roles.
We still haven't seen who is going to step up and be some of the catalysts and some of the main go-to guys on offense, and we need to see that defense, which I feel right now is going to help them win a lot of games as they did last year.
Christian Fulton, Dontrell Hilliard, Jamarco Jones ruled out for tonight's game. However, the Titans are reportedly elevating wide receiver Josh Gordon from the practice squad. Kickoff set for 6:15 tonight with Mike Keith and Dave McGinnis on Titans Radio. The League Company countdown to kickoff begins at 3 with the 3HL crew. The other Monday Night Football game tonight, Minnesota at Philadelphia at 7:30. And after routing Akron on Saturday, the Tennessee Volunteers, number 11 in the AP poll, number 12 in the coaches poll, the 3-0 Vols will host Florida Saturday at 2:30 at a sold-out Neyland Stadium. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour already on this game day. Welcome in, live from Buffalo, New York. Buck Reising here with you for a little less than an hour, but the Titans coverage continues all day long. Bills and Titans squaring off right here on 104.5 The Zone, as I'm sure has been mentioned a million times, but let's make it 1,000,001. 3HL will have the League Company countdown to kickoff, and then pregame, Titans countdown at 5 p.m. today. 615-737-1045. Jump in if you like. How do you feel about this game heading into Buffalo? For those of you who are up here already or who will or are currently making the voyage, the weather is cleared up a little bit, although there is expected to be a few more fronts moving in. Kickoff should be okay. About an hour before is what Davis Nolan at WKRN News 2 has tweeted us about the forecast up here. But it should be an exciting one, if for no other reason that these two teams always tend to play close games. And certainly based off how wacky Week 2's results were yesterday, I would say that no matter how big the point spread is in favor of Buffalo, this is not a team in Tennessee that can be outright counted out. So, as we kind of look at this situation for the Titans, let's go through the injury report just as a refresher. I know Jonathan Schaefer mentioned it in his update, but I do think it's worth taking a look at in a little more detail. So, with the players on both sides, we'll do it for both sides, the players who have been ruled out for the Titans at this point include starting corner Christian Fulton with a hamstring. Did not practice all week. He will be unavailable. Dontrell Hilliard, also a hamstring. Did not practice all week and will be unavailable. Jamarco Jones was limited in their first day of on-field work on Thursday. DNP Friday and Saturday, ruled out for tonight's game. He has not contributed at this point, so not as big of a loss as the other two for certain. And then there's Kyle Phillips, who is one of the players this week who did practice on Friday and Saturday, missed practice on Thursday, but was in a yellow jersey for the entirety of his on-field work. He is questionable with a shoulder. Now, we asked Kyle Phillips about the shoulder injury. He said it occurred earlier than just the final reception that he had to set up the field goal for Randy to attempt from 47 yards. But obviously that did not help, and you could see him on the replay clearly laboring with that shoulder. His status is up in the air at this point, although I do think, based on some conversations I've had throughout the course of the show today via text, that it is trending towards him being able to play. Josh Gordon has been elevated, according to Tom Pelissero. Those elevations, I'm sure, will come out in a few hours from now. But where do I think of those two players, and potentially three if Phillips does not go, where do I think has the biggest potential for the Titans to feel that loss? Well, certainly Christian Fulton. I mean, I think all three of them would be problematic if they're not going to play. Certainly Kyle Phillips, you would hope, is going to give it a go. But against Stephon Diggs, he and Josh Allen are going to get numbers no matter who's out there defending him. So Roger McCreary, Caleb Farley, Ugo Amadi, Elijah Molden obviously still unavailable. The Titans secondary is going to have their hands full, and there's only so much you can do to contain as opposed to outright stopping. Dontrell Hilliard is one of their best receiving options, and certainly the person responsible for all 12 of the offensive points that were scored on last Sunday against the Giants. His loss will be felt as well. Hassan Haskins will see an increased role there on third down situations and has displayed the ability to catch the ball well out of the backfield and did well, I thought, on that final drive for the Titans to hold up in pass protection, which is, of course, critical to that part of the game. But we had Kyle Phillips on the radio show on Friday, and where I think Kyle Phillips is just as much an asset as he is as a trusted target for Ryan Tannehill is the advantages that he gives you in the return game. So we asked Kyle Phillips about his ability to be prolific potentially in the return game, and this was his response.
Yeah, people always say you got to be a little bit crazy to be a punt returner, and I definitely think that's true. Because, catching a punt's not easy in itself. But, we got good coaches out here who got me right, and really just got to read the tips of the ball. Tips of the ball usually tell you where it's going. But once you get under that, that's not really the hard part. The hard part's kind of deciding whether or not you return it. You got some guys running full speed downfield ready to take your head off. So you just kind of got to be able to feel that space and feel if you got time to make a play or not.
So, I think the follow-up that I asked him was, at what point did you figure out that you're one of these insane people who's comfortable returning punts? And he went on at some length about his situation in college and his special teams coach identifying that trait within him quite early. But as far as the Bills injury situation, Maddie Glab is going to join us here in just a second. She is the Bills team reporter and also spent time working for VFL, or rather the Vol Network and VFL Films as a Vol herself. So we'll look forward to catching up with Maddie here shortly. But as I look at the injury report for the Bills, their corner, Dane Jackson, was listed as questionable, although it did seem like that was more of a precautionary measure, and it sounds like he will go. Ed Oliver has already been ruled out with an ankle injury. Tim Settle, the defensive tackle, one of their good D linemen in that rotation that they've done well to kind of beef up this offseason, he is listed as doubtful. Gabe Davis, the wide receiver who has been such a big part of the scoring offense for the Bills, listed as questionable, did not practice on it did seem like he did practice Thursday and Friday, but was limited on Saturday. It sounds like they expect him to go. Stephon Diggs is also on this injury report, but listed as non-injury related. So I would expect to see Stephon Diggs certainly and Gabe Davis probably. So we'll talk about these things with Maddie Glab as the Bills team reporter coming up next. When it comes to insurance, you want a company that's going to have your back. Did you know that the cost to rebuild a home has increased by almost 50% since 2019? If something happens to your home, it's important to make sure that you can rebuild. Most home insurance does not account for inflation, but with Country Financial, it can. With their additional replacement cost coverage, you can be sure your home's full value is protected. As a homeowner, I wanted my home to be covered for what it would actually cost to rebuild, certainly as property values continue to inflate. Country Financial provides insurance and financial services to help you prepare for the most important moments in life, even the ones you hope never happen. So find your local representative today at countryfinancial.com. From Nashville to Knoxville and all around the country, Superbook Sports is your place to wager this football season. You don't need to be at the game to enjoy all the football this fall. Download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com and start placing your bets today. Right now, Superbook has lines up for every pro football game for the rest of the season. Plus, you can bet on great odds boosts that they offer on both local and national teams. You can wager on football and every other major sport in the Superbook Sports app. So, bring Vegas to the palm of your hand, and Superbook will match 100% of your first bet up to $1,000, no matter if the bet wins or loses. Get in on the action right now with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
Here comes Henry to the left with a stiff arm, throws a man down, and goes out of bounds at the 40. Josh Norman, get you some. Oh, my.
Okay, Josh Norman. That's Thanksgiving dinner right there for you, early.
The Buck Reising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Brett coming out as the aggressor as we welcome our next guest, Maddie Glab, team reporter for the Buffalo Bills, with us on 104.5 The Zone. Maddie, I swear I didn't ask him to play that highlight of Derrick Henry stiff-arming Josh Norman into the surface of the sun. But either way, we're happy to have you.
You know, I'm waiting to come on. I hear that. I'm like, are you kidding me? They're playing that as I'm about to come on. But you know what, guys? We actually talked about it in our office this week. So that play is still a play that lives on through the walls of One Bills Drive, whether we like it or not.
Well, they won't take it off the commercials for every NFL promo that I've seen, even though it's been 2 years at this point.
It was a good play. It was a good play.
No question. Well, this is a good football team that Buffalo has and that the Titans will take on at 7:15 Eastern tonight, 6:15 local, as we broadcast in Nashville. They looked overwhelming in Los Angeles, Maddie, and I don't, week one results are always kind of wonky, but there's no question that the offseason moves that Buffalo made to both bolster their rushing attack with some moves on the offensive line and to kind of reformulate their defensive front, both as a pass rush and to be more stout against the run. That was clear and obvious in their first game of the season.
Yeah, that first game, you're always like fingers crossed, hoping, praying, wishing, wanting that the team that has been talked up all off season is actually going to look like the team that comes out onto the field in that first game. And thankfully for Bills fans, it's been a whole off season of let's join the hype train and see what happens here. And they beat the defending Super Bowl champions 31-10 and didn't blitz at all. Now I know the game plan is definitely going to change here as we face Derrick Henry and a team in the Tennessee Titans that we haven't beaten the last 2 seasons. But this is, I think, exactly what we needed to see out of the Buffalo Bills in that first game. And I'm really talking about the pass rush. This is something that the team has invested in draft picks and money and time over the last few years and really waiting for it to wake up and come alive. And we saw that last week against the Los Angeles Rams, and we saw that with Von Miller and his presence and the 7 sacks by the defensive line and the pressure that they were able to get. That has been the missing piece for this team for the last couple seasons, and everybody was so happy to see it in week 1 and are hoping it continues throughout the season.
At Matt Glab is where you follow her on Twitter. So you bring up Von Miller, and certainly he and the rest of that group were effective against Matt Stafford without having to bring additional pressure that way. Just 4-man rushes were effective to that point. And the Rams obviously dealing with some offensive line fluctuation from year to year. There's no question, but the Titans have not been exceptional in keeping Ryan Tannehill upright in recent history. For Vaughn, though, I was curious to see him play as much as he did in the opener. I understand it's a big game. He's returning back. They're Super Bowl champions when he was with the Rams, and he wants to be a part of the show. But how much of the plan for him is going to vary throughout the course of the season? Because he was at his most effective, Maddie, it seemed to me, when the playoffs got around last year, because he was fresh. They were able to utilize him more efficiently, and he had not been as big a factor for Los Angeles throughout the course of the regular season once he was acquired. Is that a similar trajectory that he's on, or is he hell-bent on playing 80-90% of the snaps?
I think it's depending on who you ask that question to. I think if you ask Von Miller, he's hell-bent on playing as much as possible. If you ask our defensive coordinator, Leslie Frazier, they would like to have him be a part of that rotation that they've been doing with the defensive line the past couple of seasons now. They know he's his best when they're utilizing him in situations down and distance-wise where it really fits him and fits this is a 12-year player. He's not going to be effective maybe on every single snap, so let's bring him in when we really need him. So that's one thing that I want to keep an eye on. I think a lot of our fans are keeping an eye on is how much is he going to be used going forward through the rest of the season, I would expect maybe not as much as that first week he was used in, because there's several guys who can come off the bench. But it'll be interesting in this game because Ed Oliver has already been ruled out. Now, I know that's a different position, but the defensive line definitely rotates. So we'll see who fills in his shoes, and if that means Von Miller is going to have to play a couple more snaps here because they're without a stout defensive tackle in Ed Oliver today, especially going against Derrick Henry.
Worth noting that Tim Settle, the defensive lineman, also on this injury report and listed as doubtful. The expectation for him to play, though?
We'll see. It seemed like at practice he was out there on Saturday. It was our Friday practice, and he was out stretching with the team. We only got to see stretching period. It looked like he was out there, and he said he did as much as he could physically do in that practice, but it's now up to the trainers to decide, is he ready to actually go? I would say it's a 50-50 shot with him. He was, held out for some of the practices this week, but it would be really helpful if they could get him to be a part of that defensive line today, because you're going to need that pressure going against a Derrick Henry offense, and especially with the type of defense that we played last year against you guys. We blitzed over 44% of the time.
Right. So
game plan wise, it's going to be really interesting to see how the Bills go from not blitzing at all against Matthew Stafford and the Rams to one of the highest blitz percentage games that they had last season against you guys.
Maddie Glab, Bills team reporter, here with us on 104.5 The Zone. We know the connection between Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs is obviously overwhelming, but the compliment that Gabe Davis has been to this offense has been just as effective for them in the passing game. Maddie, I know he's listed as questionable, and we'll see how that comes about before tonight's game as well. But with the growth and development of Josh Allen, how much better has he been made by the wide receivers, and how much better has he made these wide receivers as his accuracy and his efficiency as a quarterback has come along since coming into the league?
Yeah, I think it starts with Josh Allen, what he's been able to do, but you can't be a successful quarterback unless you have targets that you can throw to and guys that can get open. In this league nowadays, every team has a really good cornerback and a good safety that you're going to have to fight against just because of the way the league has trended towards being a passing league. And Josh Allen has been blessed with an offensive coordinator that he did have for his first 3 years. Now, of course, Ken Dorsey takes over in that role, and it was fun to see those two in that first week together. It looked like the offense is going to do much of the same, maybe have some different wrinkles, but Josh Allen is also the quarterback he is today because of players like Stephon Diggs, because of a guy like Cole Beasley who helped him along the way. Isaiah McKenzie now takes over that role, and Jamison Crowder in the slot. And Gabe Davis has been a star for them as well. I mean, you saw what he did in the playoffs, that 4-touchdown performance, and he was a guy who came in as a rookie who thought he was drafted later than he should have been and was asked to learn every single wide receiver spot. So he's the type of guy that you can plug and play wherever you want, depending on the one-on-one matchup that you think he could possibly win. He's definitely going to have a bigger role this season. That injury popped up after practice on Saturday, so he turned into being on the injury report there, and we'll see what his diagnosis is ahead of this game tonight. I wonder if he's going to go.
Well, that certainly would factor in, and given that the Titans will be without their top corner, Christian Fulton, some opportunities for Buffalo to perhaps take advantage. The Bills took advantage of the Rams on third down. 90% was their conversion rate. The Titans were absolutely horrendous, and now we've spent all week answering phone calls, or at least my show, answering phone calls about offensive coordinator decision-making and things of that nature. What made they have hugely talented players, so it's maybe the analysis is more basic than I'm making it, Maddie, but what specifically on third down stood out about the way that the Bills were able to execute?
Third down has been a part of the Bills' offense last year where you look at the stat and they were ranked high, but in third and long situations last season they struggled. And I think that was what we saw the difference was in last week's game against the Rams. They didn't struggle in those third and long situations. They were able to convert based on the personnel that was out there. So Josh was able to find his receivers. 90% is a huge conversion number.
Yeah.
an offensive coordinator walks away from that game saying that is the number that I'm looking at, that is the number that I am most pleased with about that game, because you rarely get that. I think their third down conversion percentage last year was in the 40s, and to have 90% last game in their first game of the season is absolutely incredible. Do I think they keep that? No, that would be absolutely impossible. So it'll be interesting to see how they go from there. But I think you really key in on the third and long situations and being able to dial something up there to convert a first down. We'll see how the Titans do on defense against the Bills today. But it's tough when they've got wide receivers and now hopefully a run game that they're going to go to a lot more than they did last season. They ended the year really strong with their rushing offense, and they get a new offensive line coach that I think has helped the offensive line. You get some new offensive linemen who I know are familiar with the Tennessee Titans. So a little bit older looking offensive line that Josh Allen gets to play with this year, and hopefully it'll help out that rushing offense, because if you're two-dimensional, you have a lot better of an outing in games depending on the type of defense you're playing against versus being one-dimensional.
For what it's worth, for Titans fans in the audience, the Titans were an atrocity against the Giants on third down, 3 of 11, 27.3% without their top 2 pass rushers. So worth keeping in mind as we move into tonight's game. It is a particularly exciting week for us, though, locally, Maddie, because not only are we up here for Monday Night Football, Titans and Bills, but it is Florida Hate Week for the University of Tennessee. And I know you spent time with VFL Films. I know that this probably resonates with you more than it would any other person that we might have on from Buffalo to talk about the Titans and the Bills. What have you made of the University of Tennessee in this offense under Josh Heupel and the strides that they've been able to make?
It's been so exciting to watch. You know, the last couple of years that I was working for the university, the team was under Jeremy Pruitt. They didn't have a lot of answers. They didn't have the right people in there. They didn't have the right players in there. And it was a big question mark of what are you going to do with a program that's as big as Tennessee is, but can't find a way to win games and was losing games against teams that you should be, beating them by multiple touchdowns. So it's been fun to watch them come out of the gate, beat Akron last night, 63-6 or on Saturday. So I love what I'm seeing out of him, and there's a fun connection with the Bills and with Heupel. He was Gabe Davis's college coach because Gabe Davis went to UCF. That was when Heupel was the head coach. So when Gabe Davis came to the Buffalo Bills, I said, Heupel's now at Tennessee. What do you think of this guy? And he said, he helped me so much with my game. He helped me so much as a wide receiver. He was such a fun coach to play for. I think Tennessee is going to be really good under him, and that's what we've seen so far. I know he's had a couple seasons, and I think this year we're finally seeing what he's been able to do, the Heupel touch on that team. So I'm rooting for them. It's fun to see them ranked as well. It's been a long time coming for that team.
At Maddie Glab is where you can follow Maddie Glab, team reporter for the Buffalo Bills. A pleasure to speak with you, Maddie. Thank you for the insight and the information, and I imagine I'll see you in the press box tonight.
Yes, thank you guys. Good luck tonight.
You as well. That's Maddie Glab with us on 104.5 The Zone. Yeah, the numbers when you hold them up next to each other between the Titans and the Bills. Again, it is a daunting task at this point. There is a lot of stuff for Tennessee that does not bode well for them. But again, I come back to these results from yesterday and say, as informed as the analysis might feel on the front end, or rather as bleak as the analysis might feel on the front end, the results in the NFL in week 2, the Jets down 30-17 with 1:55 left to play in the game. They ended up winning. The Dolphins down 35-14 at the start of the fourth quarter and won the game off Tua Tagovailoa's 6 touchdown passes. The Cardinals down 20-0 at halftime and 23-7 at the start of the fourth quarter in Vegas last night. Ended up coming back to win that game in overtime. This is why all of the pregame analysis, it's why pregame analysis is my least favorite thing to do, because there are so many different factors that come into play in the course of the actual game itself that simply cannot be accounted for. Now, you can feel a certain type of way. You can look at tendencies, and you can look at trends that may give you the most informed picture. But I have no idea what to expect out of Tennessee and Buffalo tonight. I just know that both teams have a history of being hugely competitive, and that last year's Monday Night Football game came down to, I don't remember if it was the final play, the 4th-and-1 stop, where Josh Allen went for it and landed right in the arms of Jeff Simmons for the Titans defense to be able to hold up in the red zone. But certainly one of the final plays that ended up handing Tennessee the victory came down to a portion of that is as small a sample size as humanly possible, and it ended up deciding the game. Now, we'll do some polls here in just a minute and wrap up the show. Last call for phone calls. How are you feeling heading into Buffalo tonight as a Titans fan? Maybe watching the game on television. Maybe you're up here tailgating. Got to get your Titans radio fix in the pregame as we continue coverage all day long. Coming up next, though, before we do the polls and wrap up with some phone calls, I'll tell you the one player who I need to see the most out of, the best out of tonight for the Tennessee Titans to be able to have a legitimate chance in this thing is 10-point underdogs. We'll do that coming up next. I'm Buck Reising, live from Buffalo. It's 104.5 The Zone. Buddy Allen Carpet One is where Middle Tennesseans have gone for nearly 55 years when they have home renovation needs. Whether you're looking to completely overhaul your bathroom, whether you're looking to change out some flooring in your home. Maybe you've got pets and you have carpet in a couple of rooms of your house like I do, and you need that out of there because they have ruined your carpeting situation and you want to replace it with hardwood. You're going to do like I do. You're going to call Buddy Allen Carpet One. They're going to work with you from start to finish, through your first conversation through post-installation. And the job is not done once the flooring is in, because they want to make sure that you are 100% satisfied with your home renovation project that they have done for you. They're not going to farm out the work to independent contractors. You're not going to get 1-800-ed if you have issues that you need them to rectify. Buddy Allen Carpet One is going to go above and beyond with things like the Beautiful Guarantee. If you are not 100% satisfied with your flooring after it has been installed, they will replace it for free. Things like the Beautiful Guarantee are what make Buddy Allen Carpet One different. It's what makes them better, along with great affordability and a variety of different options. 2405 Lebanon Pike in Donaldson, or online at BuddyAllenCarpet1.com.
Allen under center. Sneaking.
No,
I don't
he
know.
did not make that.
I do not know. Let's see where they spot it.
He did not make that.
The Titans think they have stopped it. Let's wait. Allen tried to sneak. He got nothing, or so it appeared.
They got it! They got it! They did it! They did it! Yes! Not yes! Not yes! Hell yes!
Look at Brett out here trying to get you fired up for a little Monday Night Football. I'm down. That's Mike Keith, Coach Mack on the call. Monday Night Football last year, Titans and Bills, where it again felt like the Titans were overwhelmed. I mean, it didn't feel like they were overwhelming underdogs, even at home. Certainly for the Tennessee Titans, this is something that they seem to thrive in. Now, I think on the front end, you would like them to be able to handle business against inferior teams and not just play up to the level of competition, but it is nice to know that there is a track record of success there as you head into the Lions' den, for lack of a Bills' den? Bills Mafia. As you head into the Bills Mafia hellhole that is Highmark Stadium tonight. We will see what the results bear out. And, of course, I'll be there to cover the game for you guys, and we'll be back. We'll still be in Buffalo, Lucas and I. He'll be here to do the show with me tomorrow, and Brett will be back there in Nashville before we schlep back home on Tuesday night. But we'll have full reaction tomorrow, all day, on 104.5 The Zone, not just from 10 to 1. Of course, Titans Radio gets started at 5, and I'll be on the broadcast with Jimmy Wyatt 15 minutes before kickoff, which is scheduled tonight for 6:15 Central Time. So, before we do some polls and wrap up for the day, I said that I had one player that I need to see more from, that I need to see make a difference. It doesn't ever come down to one player. It is a collective effort. It's honestly the thing that makes football the hardest sport to predict. You can have difference makers in basketball come from individuals. You can have difference makers in individual sports, tennis, golf, otherwise, because it's entirely on the individual to make the play. But I think in football, the explosive plays and the chunk plays, the game-making, game-breaking plays are what it comes down to more than anything. Josh Allen and the Bills had 4 turnovers and still beat their opponent by 21 because they were overwhelming that way, both via the run and the pass. The Giants beat the Titans playing the Derrick Henry game. You had explosive plays, 60-plus yard runs, coverage busts that led to 65-yard touchdown receptions by Sterling Shepard. You had chunk plays on the ground that allowed the Titans, or that forced the Titans to give up 238 yards total in ways that they were not accustomed to, the number 2 rushing defense in football last year. So what do I need from the Titans tonight, or from an individual tonight? I need Derrick Henry to have a Derrick Henry game if I'm a Titans fan. I need to see a better version of Derrick than we saw last week. I think he's fully capable. For all the concerns, Derrick was fine last week. There wasn't anything about him that I thought was poor. I thought, maybe he might have shown a little hesitancy in some spots. I thought maybe, certainly the botched snap on 3rd and 1 in the King Cat formation that they run from time to time is on him. But I think overall, I am optimistic about Derrick Henry and what he will mean for the Titans this season. But I need to see explosive plays. I need to see, it wasn't just Jeff Simmons catching Josh Allen on the 4th and 1 that decided that game last year. It was, I believe, a 65-yard touchdown run by Derrick Henry to help break that thing open and allow them to keep pace. Explosive plays that change the game, X plays that the Titans did not do well to mitigate a week ago. We will see if they are able to produce their own tonight at Highmark Stadium. And I'll certainly be there to enjoy the spectacle that happens, whatever it is. But just remember, there hasn't been a team in quite some time that's gone down 0-2 to start their season and made the postseason. So it's odd to say week 2 is a must-win situation. But for the purposes of playing the percentages like Todd Downing did last week, you need this percentage on your side. Let's do some polls.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. The polls have closed and the votes have been tallied. It's the segment where bias takes over and nuance goes to die. Now, here's your favorite Buck Reising Show correspondent, Lucas. Pan, make that poll Zika.
Not today, baby. It's the Brett Bachelor Show.
That's right, Buck. Thank you. Presented by Two Rivers Ford, powered by Ford, driven by people. Who is the Colts 0-1-1 start most on? 23% say Matt Ryan, 35% say Chris Ballard, 42% say it's the head coach Frank Reich.
No, it's not Frank Reich. I continue to be a believer in Frank Reich. Chris Ballard, I believe, to be objectively bad at his job, for the most famous thing on his resume being a $20 million guard that he took in the top 10. It's not acceptable what's happening with the Colts if you're a football fan, but if you're a Titans fan, you're quite happy to dance on their grave after the 0-1-1 start and a 24-0 shutout yesterday in Jacksonville.
Is 6 touchdown passes enough to make you believe in Tua in Miami? Kenneth said Nick Foles did that once too. I'm sure how that worked out well.
Hey, Super Bowl MVP, Nick Foles.
George
Easy.
says not yet. Popcorn says no, that's a negative. And Abandoned Brian says no, it was just one game.
You know, it didn't make me a believer in Tua as much as it made me believe that Tua can execute the Mike McDaniel offense and that they did well in the offseason to make sure that offense could have enough around Tua to give him the opportunity to succeed. I think too often the conversation boils down to individual players when it's not about the individual as much as it is how does that individual work within the structure of what's around him. And I think Tua's in a really, really good spot. So I'm a Mike McDaniel believer, if not a outright Tua believer. What do they call it? Tua-non?
Yes. What is the most important matchup for the Titans tonight? Puka says it's the Titans O-line versus the Bills rush defense. Goody says Titans O-line versus the Bills defensive line. Rusher says Titans O-line versus the Bills defensive line. That is what most people are saying.
Okay, well, that's I clearly the bias is leaning towards you need a big Derrick Henry game to set this thing off. And largely I'm inclined to agree with you. But the explosive plays, they need more on first down if they're going to run him as often as they do on first down. So, you know, we'll see what their approach looks like. If it differs at all, I would suspect not. But if the play calling gets more predictable in the correct ways, then I think you could consider it a success on the whole.
Which potential Titans loss hurts the most for Monday Night Football? 11% say Dontrell Hilliard, 29% say Kyle Phillips, 60% say Christian Fulton. Ima says none of them. We will work with what we've got.
Yeah, Kyle Phillips is not listed as out, just to clarify. That's why we had potential in the poll. And I did say that I've been talking to some people throughout the course of the show today, and it is trending towards him being available, as well as Josh Gordon being on the active roster. So keep that in mind as we move forward. But yeah, Dontrell Hilliard and Christian Fulton, their absences are going to be felt. So come on down, Caleb Farley and Hassan Haskins.
Those are the polls.
Very good. That's the show. From Buffalo, we'll be back. We'll still be in Buffalo tomorrow doing the show, and we'll have full reaction to the Titans and the Bills. My time on these airwaves is not quite done. I'm going to make a brief appearance on 3HL from the field before kickoff, and then on Titans Radio in the booth with Jim Wyatt and Rhett Bryan 15 minutes before kick. Brett Bachelor doing a great job. Lucas will be back tomorrow. Blaine and Mickey got you coming up next.